And to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023. Dom, we find ourselves on the road again. The Bavarian Bierhaus in Glendale.
You can say Bavarian Beer Hall if you have problems saying the Haas part of it, man. Welcome, Crute. Hey, man, you're on the road. This is just a mile from my house. Great to see you, Nate, working hard on the board. Our fair audience, welcome to the Devil's Advocates Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023 in my backyard.
And you're all invited. Oktoberfest started at 4 o'clock. We are officially in Oktoberfest here at the Bavarian Bierhaus Beer Hall.
There you go. Easy
and the
enough.
Brewers are on the not only are the Brewers on the radio right now, Brewers up 2-0 last I checked.
Excellent.
They're playing out on our flagship. You're allowed to go peek in on that if you want to. WISS 1100 AM and 98.3 FM. But Dom, we're down here in the Milwaukee market, and this is the broader metro. But we're down here in two good reasons. One, well, maybe 3, 4, 10 good reasons.
Lots of reasons. We'll come up with some.
I got a couple of
Okay,
good
all right.
reasons. A, politics. B, partying with the people. And C, Packers kick off at 7:15.
Packers and politics.
Where?
baby.
Why? I am wearing the colors. Why are you not
know.
wearing colors?
I got my WAUK shirt on. I totally forgot to put on my my Lions shirt. You know, the Lions are favored on the road here in Green Bay by 2.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'll take all of that
Hey,
action.
no, come on.
All of
man.
that action.
What? Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe the line will move. But the Packers are home dogs, baby.
You know, they got
I know you like that action.
They got a big screen here at the Bavarian Bierhaus in Glendale. This is right off the highway. Traffic's still slow, so get off the highway. Just join us. We've already got our first guest here. We got Haas and Annalise. We often mention our favorite fan, Annalise from Sheboygan. And Haas dragged her all the way down.
Thank you, Haas.
And they're here for the Oktoberfesting and maybe to see the Devil's Advocates. You could be like them because we're out in the community. And Dom, it had Oktoberfest in the name. And also tomorrow. What are we doing tomorrow, Dom?
Back where it all began, Crute. La Crosse, Wisconsin, where you and I went to school. I graduated. I'm pretty sure you did as well back in the day.
I got a piece of paper that says I did.
Another Oktoberfest and a classic. The one of my favorite Oktoberfest, of course, in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Now, we're going to be on Pearl Street at Buzzard Billy's tomorrow. Live broadcast starts at 4. Party goes all night. Come on down. Join us. I will buy you your first cold beverage. Your call. Whatever it is. Not the stuff from the back shelf. But.
The top shelf, baby.
So, Dom, we're going to have a good time today. And we're going to talk some politics today, but I want to start looking backwards just a little bit. The least important presidential debate of our lifetime went off last night. Did you watch it, my friend?
I tried to. I started out a little bit, got in a few minutes late, and I watched it up until the point, probably 15, 20 minutes into the quote-unquote debate. Wow. When DeSantis and Ramaswamy and someone else just started talking over each other. It was, the moderators totally lost control. They let it go on way too long, and I shut it off. They looked like a bunch of petulant children. I was not impressed with the format nor the candidates. So, no, man, I turned that off after a while.
Did you see the future president of the United States on that stage?
No.
A plausible future president. Did you see one?
I didn't see anyone that's going to beat Joe Biden. No, I did not.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. You know, it was interesting. I watched more of that than I ever would have expected. Like 2 minutes is more than I ever would have expected. But once I put it on, you know, then I was committed to watching it a bit. And Mrs. Crute came round, and even young Junior Crute came round, my youngest.
Well, it's 2 hours, man. A lot of people can come and go in 2 hours of that thing.
I think even the dogs found themselves, you know, moderately attracted to the glowing light of the boob tube last night. So we're watching the debate as a family, question mark. And, you know, I found my family agreeing there were two moderates. If they were president, you wouldn't all night. You wouldn't be angry completely.
Or the world was going to end with these people in the White House.
And then Chris Christie, and that's maybe Nikki Haley. They seem like the grown-ups at the kids' table. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're not going to get into the grown-ups. We're going to get us to heap and help into Donald Trump.
Keep saying that. That certainly is what the map looks like at this point. But as I said yesterday and before, and I continue to reiterate, if you can project and tell me what's going to happen well over a year from now with these political candidates in this circumstance, I take your action. I want your wisdom. Tickets, because I don't think anybody knows how this is going to happen.
Here's a couple of things I can tell you. Packers Super Bowl champion. It all starts tonight. Glorious victory over Detroit. I'm going to call it like 27-23, but it'll be glorious. Packers over Detroit tonight. You can listen, please do, especially here in the Metro, the Milwaukee Metro, on WRJN 1400 AM. And if you're in Racine, Kenosha, 99.9, start there, and then 98.1 down on the state line. But listen to Civic Media's Packers. That's what all the Patriots would do. Or more importantly, celebrate Oktoberfest. Many other fine people, I suspect they're partying already. Oh, here's another fine person walking up from the parking lot.
It is. It's just going to keep it on. Crute, the debate last night. You know, Ramaswamy and DeSantis going back.
Oh, what an irritating little. You know what that guy
listen,
is.
I think you're right. You know, Chris Christie would seem to be one of the adults. Nikki Haley, as you mentioned, perhaps one of the other adults on stage. But, you know, Donald Duck. As soon as I said it, then I got the tweet from the Chris Christie campaign right away. So they already looked at the camera.
Donald Duck.
Oh, come on. How about this, people? The front runner who has now ducked, as Christie pointed out, the second debate, and now whose advisors are calling on the RNC to cancel all future debates, didn't show up again. And the guy's been indicted, obviously, 90-some charges against him, and court rulings going against him daily. And it was not, to my understanding, I didn't see it, and nor did I see any of the reporting. How is this not a topic of conversation with the Republican primary? Your front runner by 40, 50 points, as he would have it, is under indictment, is losing his business, is convicted of fraud. He starts a trial for $250 million, a civil case, no doubt. Next week, man.
Monday.
Next week. And if that was Joe Biden on the stage, you think they'd address that? So it's an absolute farce. How if you really want to be the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, you got to go after your political opponent who's facing 91 felonies and the prospect of losing his entire business. And, let's not talk about the fraud or the sexual abuse, yada, yada, yada. None of those things were brought up on the stage, which makes it an entire joke.
How do you think Stuart Varney, Dana Perino, and the one the Republicans took such objection to? She was a non-citizen.
Oh, she's not even a citizen. How dare she ask questions? What, sit in the back and keep your mouth shut? She's not qualified? Again, from what I saw, not impressed. It was lacking in substance. Again, not bringing up the former president and all the things and the baggage that comes with that, not being addressed head on. And Chris Christie, in his defense, apparently today, in some of the reporting I saw, said, well, the moderators, they didn't ask about it. Well, okay. He's the leader, man. He's the one stomping on all of you Republicans right now. Hell, the reporting I have seen today saying the Republicans are losing their freaking minds. They're trying to get Youngkin to jump in because apparently nobody Nobody on that stage, as Crute mentioned, are even going after or touching Donald Trump.
I didn't find them particularly compelling. It was at least maybe close to an hour of my life I will never get back. I will never get that hour back. So I watched a little of the event last night, and the big event, well, it's right here at the Bavarian Bierhaus. And you know what I love about this? I love looking around and observing what's around.
Oh, I
while
know.
we're on the radio
Stay
now.
on target. Stay focused, Crute.
Well, they got the Oktoberfest, the Willkommen zum. I'm sure I just butchered that.
Yeah.
We'll get a German speaker.
Man, come
soon.
on. You have a hard time with the English language, let alone trying to learn German on the fly, man.
I'm just really impressed with the spinning beer stein on top of the water tower.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch, Crute?
Nine.
Nine.
I know nothing. I see nothing. I do very little, except this little radio show with you, my friend.
So how can you call this a debate when these very important issues that are facing the Republican Party, the front runner, and they don't even mention it? They don't even bring it up. And even
Nobody
if you,
watched.
Even if you put it on,
Nobody
if you
cares.
believe what Chris Christie says, hey, the moderator. Well, why wouldn't Fox News? Why wouldn't the moderators bring up? Hey,
Because they're not a real news organization.
So what are we really doing then? I mean,
It was
what is the point of
least
all of this?
important presidential debate of our lifetime. Least important. Nobody cared. Nobody should care because nobody on that stage last night has a plausible chance, to my humble, less than humble opinion, of being the president of the United States, at least in this elective cycle. So they're also rants. And even Donald Trump, he doesn't want to be insulted anymore, apparently, Dom. So he doesn't think there should be any more debate.
He's too senile. He cannot get on that stage. Number one, he couldn't articulate any sort of thoughts. And I heard Joe Biden today. Joe Biden gave a speech, this McCain, some McCain bill.
Democracy.
Yes, man. Oh, my God. And the guy was passionate and articulate and forthright and spoke from the heart. And it sounded like a president. He wasn't calling for anyone to be hung. He wasn't calling for anybody to be executed. I mean, and he was bringing up these very specific things that Donald Trump has said recently. I heard more about those awful and terrible things that the former president has been saying recently from Joe Biden. How was that not brought up yesterday in the quote-unquote debate?
I heard a lot of that Joe Biden speech right here on the Civic Media on the Todd Alba show. Very human speech.
Yeah.
Talked about introducing John McCain to his wife, Cindy.
Yeah.
Encouraging John to go for it. Not just in life, in marriage, but also for the U.S. Senate. Folks, Devil's Advocates on the road. The Bavarian Bierhaus here in Glendale. Come on down. Tippestein with us. Come back. Mike Clemens with the Packers update.
Hey, can you guys hear me there?
Yes, si, senor.
Yeah,
check.
your guys' signal sort of went out again in the middle of that. It wasn't unlistenable, but it was not great.
There's nothing we can do about it, though.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
even to inform us, only brings us angst. So don't bother.
All right.
Don't tell me how bad it might sound.
We're coming back. Mike's on the line.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but the show is kind of a big deal.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on the road again. Bavarian Beer Hall, Oktoberfest in Glendale, Wisconsin, just north of Milwaukee. If you're in town, come down, hang out, have a drink or two.
We're on the patio, Don. We snuck outside trying to get maximum signal and maximum party room. We got plenty of room to party here. Come on down, join us. And the Packer game, it kicks off 7:15. Listen in on WRJN 1400 AM. You can flip back and forth. Packer pregame coverage starts about 5 o'clock. So, we give you permission to dip your toe in the pregame coverage. But come on back. We're partying here till 6 on the radio. But we're staying for the Packer game. We're partying all night long. Mike Clemens, our sports director. Mike, long time no talk. It feels like it was just yesterday with the big Bucks trade, but tonight we're talking Packers, my friend. You in Lambeau yet?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I'm just a couple blocks away. There's plenty of Lions fans in town for this primetime game tonight.
Baby.
Yeah.
Is this a Milwaukee game? Is this a Milwaukee?
Yeah, yes. But here's the thing. That Dan Campbell, it's like 2.5 years ago in January that this guy who had played tight end for a while with the Lions was a tight end coach for Sean Payton during their good years with Drew Brees and winning a Super Bowl, that he gets his first head coaching job, and he talks about this team is just like the city of Detroit. We're resilient. We've been knocked down, but we're going to get up and we won't stop, and we'll bite your knee off. He had all these strange rah-rah things he's going to do. Well, look at this. 2.5 years later, the NFL believes in him because they put this guy in prime time at least 3 times. Thursday night, they kick off against the Chiefs, and they beat Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead to open the season. Tonight, another primetime game with the backdrop of Lambeau Field, because this is a big numbers night for September ratings. And then they'll be in primetime again, of course, like they are every year on Thanksgiving, going against these Green Bay Packers. So the league believes in the Lions as something that, and by the way, after being on Hard Knocks and changing that culture, these guys have sold out their tickets now at Ford Field. All the season tickets are gone for the first time in years.
Wow.
Now, Mike, how about the injury report? Because last week the Packers were nearly decimated by both penalties and injuries. How are we doing on the injury front?
Yeah, Jordan Love's out there, and it's like he looks around when he comes up under center, and he's missing like 5 starters. But they've got all these rookie receivers and everything. So there was one story, Crute and Dom, I wanted to talk about, and I thought, I don't know, everyone's so tired of this story. An hour ago, Brian Gutekunst's GM just put David Bakhtiari on injured reserve.
Oh,
no.
You're killing me, Mike. How about Christian Watson, the wide receiver? Very interested in seeing him on the field this year. Will it be tonight?
According to Christian, it is, because we asked him the other day. He came to his locker and said, okay, come on over. And we said, we thought maybe there was a chance you'd go against the Saints. Will you go Thursday night? And he said, that's the plan. Oh, okay. Well, was this sort of the target date all along against this, NFC North defensive foe at home since you've been out with it? He said, no. And Matt LaFleur said that too. Listen, if you can play, you play. If you can't, it's not like, well, let's hold him off one more week so that he's 100% against Detroit. No, they just base that on the medical. And when we asked LaFleur, it's like, hey, Watson thinks he's playing. He goes, well, that's great. I like the enthusiasm, but, it's the doctors that will have the final say. So he's still down as questionable, but I think he's going to get out there tonight. He had some sort of a hamstring that happened at the end of camp. He's missed the first 3 games. I asked him, did you have a setback? But a hamstring, a full blown hamstring, if the back of your leg feels like a waffle iron, and it takes about a month to get that back. And he said, no, we just had to bring it along right so that hopefully can be good for the rest of the season. But I think he's going to be out there. I think Aaron Jones is going to be out there tonight as well. but the Bakhtiari thing, I mean, this guy's now only played in 12 games, 13 games since New Year's Eve, 2020, when he blew out the ACL in practice. And tonight he would have been what one for 4 games. So yeah, this is such a setback. And again, like we talked before, it's no longer just inflammation of that knee or fluids. It's pain and stiffness and the knee locking up on him. And it looks like Rasheed Walker's job moving forward at left tackle.
And what about Alexander on defense, Mike? Any indication if we got our top corner back?
No, he did something to his back about a week and a half ago and has missed these games. And to go with that, an indication he's not going to be back anytime soon. They also elevated another defensive back, Corey Ballantyne, from the practice squad to the 53-man with that spot open after they put Bakhtiari today on injured reserve.
Folks, you're listening to the Devils Advocates Radio Show. We've got Civic Media's own sports director, Mike Clemens, live on the phone from Lambeau. Kickoff 7:15. You can listen here in the Milwaukee Metro on 1400 AM WRJN. And Mike, we're here at the Bavarian Bierhaus, the Oktoberfest grounds. I know it's a digression, Mike, but you partied at this place with Ronald Reagan? Tell me about that.
Oh, wow, dude.
True story. You know, in my early 20s, I lied to get a job, and was working shooting TV camera. Right. So in '84, man, it was Reagan running for re-election, and of course he won by a landslide. But he covered Mondale when he came to town. Jesse Jackson was a candidate, and actually did pretty good with some candidates. Geraldine Ferraro. So then the Republicans, and you got to give credit to Ronnie Reagan. I mean, the people around him, Ed Meese. Was it Lynn Nussiger, Michael Deaver? These guys knew how to stage their guy. And so they said, yeah, go to the Bavarian Inn. We're going to let in about 2,000 supporters. And it was all staged. There was 50 flags behind him. There was tabletops. Harold Breyer was a conservative police chief for Milwaukee. And it's like, okay, well, where's the president? And all of a sudden you look up and here come the sounds of the choppers. The Air Force One helicopters landing, and he gets out and salutes the crowd, and he goes on the stage, and he has a big beer and a photo op next to the police chief, for crime prevention, in the state. And it was a great front page picture in the paper the next morning. And that.
What a great story. Mike Clemens, sorry to cut you short. Mike Clemens reporting in from Lambeau. Kickoff 7:15 on Civic Media.
the Devil's Advocates, rock and roll political commentary in a top 40
Tell you a
world.
story about the house run blue.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, live on the road again. Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023. Dom, today it finds us in Glendale. We're going to have the fine mayor of Glendale. He is Bryan Kennedy. He's a friend of ours. Brian's going to join us in the happier hour, the happier happy hour, now about 5:30 Central Time. Also, our colleague and broadcast excellence, Earl Ingram, joining us at the top of the 5.
Nice.
And you can always be a part, even when we go on the road. You can come with, you can text us. You know, the super cool app, the Civic Media app, get it where you get your apps, but it allows you to text us in real time. I can get them on my phone, Dom. I read them. I see them. Sometimes I chuckle to myself. Sometimes I read them aloud on the air. But I always prefer the conversation, Dom. I'm here for the dialogue. 844-967-2789. That's the best way to, be a part. Go on the road with us. Tell us what you're thinking on a given day. So other than this least important political debate of our lifetime, Dom, and Joe Biden gave his little speech. I heard parts of it on the Todd Alba show. And then, what's going on at the Congress? They're not keeping the government open, not yet.
Priorities, Crute.
What was that other thing they were doing? Oh, yeah, the Joe Biden impeachment.
It's not an impeachment. Can we not call it that?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, they may as well call it a bar mitzvah because it's not a thing. You know what I'm saying? It is not an impeachment. It is. They may have some congressional hearings, but it is not an impeachment. An impeachment is a thing. You need to go through a process in order to get that thing. To call something a thing that is not that thing, you may as well call it something else.
We will know something about impeachments here in the state of Wisconsin very, very soon, right? We're going to learn these processes probably on a federal and state and local level. But anyways, Joe Biden, the impeachment, the effort, the snowballing of the MAGA followers, because nobody else really believes this, right? And here's what I would say, and I did hear some of Jamie Raskin, and we've got some of his sound to share with you, our fair audience. But if you got a smoking gun, if you got this snowball of evidence, if you got this overwhelming something,
like I don't know, gold bars hidden in your house, or stacks of cash stuffed in your suits, something like that,
I would lead with that.
Yes, absolutely.
Like in euchre, lead with the Bowers. Just clean up the table. Take them all, right? You're going alone, take them all. Play them like you got them. Well, if you're playing them like you got them, where's the there? When Comer and these Republicans lay out these hackneyed, these old, debunked ideas, and they just, cast aspersions and call it an impeachment. Well, Jamie Raskin, I think, did an excellent job of calling them out on the fact there's virtually, essentially, exactly zero, not one scintilla of evidence. Nate, let's play it for the people. Jamie Raskin, cut 5.
Chairman has publicly boasted that he received 100% of everything he asked for. And I quote, "Every subpoena that I've signed as chairman of the House Oversight Committee over the last 5 months, we've gotten 100% of what we've requested, whether it's with the FBI, with the banks, or with Treasury. That means we are the real witnesses here. In fact, the committee has received 12,000 pages of bank records. Here they are, right in front of us, printed double-sided. And not a single page shows a dime going to President Joe Biden."
It's a nothing burger. They've got nothing to lead with. You got no Bowers. You're bluffing? You can't bluff.
We've got 12,000 pages of evidence, quote unquote, that shows no money going to Joe Biden. That's Raskin. Love me some Raskin. Let's hear some more. Cut number 6, please.
Trump's convinced that if we shut the government down, his 4 criminal prosecutions on 91 different felony and misdemeanor charges will be defunded and delayed long enough to keep him from having to go before a jury of his peers before the 2024 election. And like flying monkeys on a mission for the Wicked Witch of the West, Trump's followers in the House now carry his messages out to the world. Shut down the government, shut down the prosecutions. But the cult master has another command for his followers, which brings us here today.
The cult master.
I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto. Jamie Raskin, lighten up these Republicans for their meritless, voteless impeachment action.
Investigation. Raskin, the witnesses they showed, apparently they brought in 3 witnesses, but they haven't seen any crime. Here's Raskin, cut 7.
The title of the hearing is The Basis for an Impeachment Inquiry of President Joseph Biden. And yet they present us no basis at all today, even after 8 months of investigation. They've invited 3 witnesses to testify. Not one of them is an eyewitness to a presidential crime of any kind. Not one of them is a direct fact witness about any of the events related to Ukraine and Burisma. Not one of them has participated in the 8 months of investigation.
Not one of them. But that won't stop the Republicans. What is this? An investigation for a possible impeachment inquiry, maybe sometime in the future, of the current president. Great work, folks.
Are they doing this to what? Is this a shiny object to distract from the fact they're letting the government shut down concurrently? Is this their definition of walking and chewing gum?
Well, I mean, you can do lots of things at the same time. Exactly. You can give some cover fire for your felonious, sexual assaulting, fascist orange dictator, and give some, try to get some damage on Joe Biden, and shut the government down, because that's really the priority of the Republicans. Here's what Raskin says about the government shutdown.
That's a win-win, Dom.
Cut number 8, please.
All right, so let's get it straight. We're 62 hours away from shutting down the government of the United States of America, and Republicans are launching an impeachment drive based on a long debunked and discredited lie. No foreign enemy has ever been able to shut down the government of the United States, but now MAGA Republicans are about to do just that. But they don't want to cut off public services to the people and deny paychecks to more than 1 million service members without first launching an impeachment drive, even when they don't have a shred of evidence against President Biden for an impeachable offense.
Wow, that's what you get, Raskin. You're not inferring properly. Just a couple more from Rep. Raskin. Lighten up the Republicans. The smoking gun, Crute, where is it? Cut 9.
We've received 2,000 pages of SARS reports the chairman subpoenaed. We've held hearings and conducted interviews with everybody from Hunter Biden's business partners to a federal agent assigned to that investigation, and still we found no evidence of wrongdoing by President Biden. If the Republicans had a smoking gun or even a dripping water pistol, they would be presenting it today, but they've got nothing on Joe Biden. All they can do is return to the thoroughly demolished lie that Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump launched 5 years ago. The Burisma conspiracy theory, a fairy tale so preposterous that one of its main authors, Lev Parnas, has now disowned and repudiated it.
Oh, Lev. What happened to Lev?
Was that before or after he was convicted and went to prison?
I mean, it is just unbelievable. Final cut from Jamie Raskin. Cut 10, please, Nate.
And you think I'm being harsh? Here's what some Republicans have had to say over the last week about the actions of the Republicans as they watch up close, quote, the dysfunction caucus at work, in the words of our GOP colleague from Nebraska, Don Bacon. Clownshow, foolishness, terribly misguided, stupidity, failure to lead, lunatics, disgraceful, new low, pathetic, enabling Chairman Xi, people that have serious issues. Those folks don't have a plan, show just how broken they are, and individuals that just want to burn the whole place down. Now, if I said any of these things, they'd probably take my words down. But these are Republicans talking about Republicans. So let's be clear. This isn't partisan warfare America's seeing today. It is chaotic infighting between Republicans and Republicans. It's MAGA versus extreme MAGA, as if anybody in the real world could tell the difference between the two. What a staggering failure of leadership.
Jamie Raskin lighten up the Republicans in the House.
I bet you Republicans wished he was on their team.
Right?
Do they have an effective, like a smart lawyer type, like Jamie
Yeah,
Raskin?
Jim Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for real, man. I mean, literally, who is the standout? Who is somebody like Jamie Raskin? I mean,
The star of Team GOP?
yes, who is that person? To
They
stand
weren't
up?
on the stage last
Well,
night.
no, they weren't. They're certainly not in this investigative committee. I mean, I tried to write down all the things that the Republicans that Jamie Raskin articulated for us that are saying about each other. You know, the mega on mega, the dysfunctional caucus, the clown show. It goes on. I can't read my writing. There was many. You heard them, and he's absolutely right. But what? Comer now is going to subpoena some more. I haven't seen the details on it, but Comer's coming out with some more subpoenas. Apparently, they're going to get to the truth, folks. You know, working on the very important priorities of Congress.
Well, you know, more subpoenas. And not governing. Not governing.
Governing? What?
You know, my understanding is the House refuses to take up the bipartisan Senate Republican-led short-term funding bill to keep the government from shutting down. Because let's not forget, Dom, Saturday night at midnight, Kevin McCarthy turns into a pumpkin, dude.
A bipartisan bill coming out of the Senate with what, almost 80? So they got almost 30 Republican senators?
Ron Johnson was a no.
It was shocking.
And Tommy Tupperville was a no.
Shocking once again. But at the end of the day, you got, what, 80% of the Senate, half of whom are Republicans, are like, yeah, here's the thing. Why don't you just bring it to the floor?
Mitch
Because
McConnell was lighting up Kevin McCarthy today.
If McCarthy brought it to the floor, it would pass. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Probably with some moderate Dems. And,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, of course it would pass.
Hakeem Jeffries could be the Speaker of the House. If Kevin McCarthy would just let him run it, he could probably build an effective coalition with the Democrats and a handful of moderate Republicans. Hakeem Jeffries would have a better time and more success governing this caucus than Kevin McCarthy because, of course, he's got no soul left to sell.
Yeah, there's nothing left. I mean, what, 14 votes to become the speaker? I mean, when Matt Gaetz has a proverbial political gun to your head the whole time, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and these are the people you're going to lean on? There is no governance there. They want to break it. They want to blow it up. They don't want to move forward. They don't want to govern. And the thought that is this country going to save a dime by shutting down? You know what I mean? For real. I mean, is it going to be more or less expensive in the long run, in the long term, as we look back and everybody eventually gets paid back anyway? And then what? Interest rates go up if all of a sudden the credit ratings go down and our long-term debt. If you want to talk about the effect of national debt, well, listen to the Republican. It is their actions, because they could pass this right now. Kevin McCarthy could bring the Senate bill to the floor. And they could let people vote, but he's not going to do it because there's a better idea, there's a better plan waiting from the Republicans? I mean, what have they presented? What is out there? What have they passed? I haven't seen anything yet, but they spent a lot of time today in committee investigations on Hunter Biden, who's, never worked for the government, and apparently trying to tie that somehow to Joe Biden's corruption. What a farce.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's the Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023. Come join us. We are at the Bavarian Bierhaus Beer Hall down here in Glendale, Wisconsin. Plenty of room for you. We're on the deck. The weather has turned quite nice. Little cloudy, but not too warm, not too cool.
It's just perfect.
It is. The porridge is perfect. The beer is cold. The company is hot. So come on down, join us. And, of course, the Packers, they're kicking off a little bit later, 7:15. You're allowed to dip in a little pregame coverage on WRJN 1400 AM. And we'll take some of your calls as well. You go on the road with us when you dial 844-967-2789. Devil's Advocates, come back. live on the road, you should be here.
Seen my baby since a nigh on a week. Gotta get drunk, man, so I can't even speak. Gonna get high, man, listen to me. One drink ain't enough, Jack, you better make it 3. Gonna get drunk, I'm gonna make it real clear. I want one bourbon, one scotch, one beer, one bourbon, one scotch, one beer.
Hey, test 1, 2. Can you guys hear me there? I lost you on StreamYard. Okay. Okay, cool. Can you see the callers? All right, I'll get you coming back.
The Devil's Advocates. So relevant, they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Make sure you stick around. The happy hour. Earl Ingram, our pal, is going to join us at 5 o'clock. The mayor of Glendale, Bryan Kennedy, at 5:30. We can take your calls at 844-967-2789.
And if you missed us today, Don, we're doing it again tomorrow at Oktoberfest. La Crosse, Wisconsin will be at Buzzard Billy's down there on Pearl Street. Join us. The party, the live broadcast party, getting started about 4 o'clock. So we will have a good time all across the great state of Wisconsin. It's the Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023. And I'm thinking we got to work out some T-shirts. And we got to work it back to like the Jade Monkey at some point. That's got to be like the grand finale.
Ended at the Jade Monkey.
Something
that
of that
funky
sort.
monkey. We do love that bar. One of Hawk's finer neighborhood bars.
Well, folks, this is a Milwaukee party. It's a pre-Packers party. The Packers getting up and kicking on the
come
Detroit
on.
Lions ass tonight.
I was a little concerned as we started the show today. I looked at the Lions. Like, man, the Packers are getting 2 points at home. They are home underdogs. I was thinking, how is that even possible? My Lions, are they that good? And then Mike Clemens informed us, man, there's a lot of injury problems over at the Packers. So how confident are you knowing what we now know, Michael, with your Packers versus my hungry Lions?
I would just say let's let the whole year ride on tonight. Let's let it ride, Dom. Let it ride. We've got some callers. You could be one of them at 844-967-2789. Again, we're in Glendale at the Bavarian Bierhaus. Come on down. The beers are cold. The food's hot. And the company's not half bad at this point. Trucker Dean. Nate, you're going to have to help us. Trucker Dean, Join us on the radio airwaves. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dean.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, good, Dean. Welcome.
Not bad. Where are you at? Hickson. Where's Hickson?
Just south of Osseo.
You gotta. Okay. All right, man. Sorry to interrupt.
30 miles.
Tell me
40
what
miles
you want to
south
tell
of
me.
Claire.
Okay, fair enough. I learned something.
Are we good? Are we good? Can you hear me?
We're good. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I kind of wanted to rename Donald Trump. You know, like a mob boss got their little names. And I'm thinking, Don the Dodger. He's trying to dodge his court dates. He's a tax dodger. He's a debate dodger. He's a draft dodger. I'm thinking Don the Dodger would be a good name for him.
What about Slippery Don?
What about Slippery Don? Greasy Don.
What about
Weaselly
Donald
Don?
What about Donald
Christie?
Duck? I mean, did you hear Christie? He came out with that. He was so proud, man, that the Christie team. As soon as he said Donald Duck, man, they started putting out memes on Twitter. I mean, they were just all over it. What is your sense? Did you hear any of the debate? And how do you think this is all
It went
going to
over
shake
like
out?
Howard the Duck.
Right.
I didn't hear any of the debate, but I did hear Joe Biden today, and that was one of the best speeches I think I've ever heard from any president.
It was a great speech. It was
What
a great speech.
What grabbed you about the
It was a
speech
great-
team?
Oh, just kind of how he went after everything that's wrong with the Republican Party, but we can still fix it. Get out and vote, and we can fix
Yes,
it.
sir.
Gene, you make an excellent point. I thought
Gene, you make an excellent
really
point. I
like
thought
about
Joe
it.
Biden made several.
Yes, sir. Trucker Dean, thanks for listening.
Yes, sir. Trucker Dean, thanks for listening. On the road in Hickson, Wisconsin. That's near Osseo, if you didn't know, Dom.
Yes, we learned that today. What I heard of the speech, and I was surprised as I was driving today. I got the XM in the car, so I listened to a little MSNBC and CNN, and they were both providing and bringing the Biden speech. So I quick flipped over to Fox to see what they were rolling on, and oh yeah, of course it was this bar mitzvah investigation that the Republicans are going through. So I flip back to
Bar
It's not
mitzvah.
even a thing. So
it's not even a thing. So I might as well call it something else. Call it something else other than what it is. Point being, what I heard the passion from this president, Joe Biden, and I haven't heard a lot of this from him. He's an older guy, and sometimes he talks like this, and I'm serious. I'm not kidding. He has his tics. He has a way of that he presents his speech. But he was talking about how Donald Trump, when he was overseas and at the cemetery, I think perhaps it was in France, and he made the comment about the cemetery being full of losers and suckers. And Joe raised his voice. Losers and suckers. Was my son a sucker? He slept next to a burn pit for a year, came home and died of cancer. Was he a sucker for signing up to serve his country? It just kind of wrenches at your heart. You think, oh my God, the differences between a guy like Donald Trump and a guy like Joe Biden. I'm sure Joe Biden's been a politician for a long, long time. And Donald Trump is Donald Trump. But the personality that comes through in the way they talk, in their manners, in their actions, it is entirely 100% opposite.
And you want a guy like
you want a guy like Donald Trump again? Republicans? You got nobody else. You had no one on that stage yesterday. All the donors are begging for Youngkin to jump in. Not even close. It is so literally, and I agree with Trucker Dean, probably one of the best speeches. I didn't know he was speaking today at this event for John McCain. I didn't know this was going on, and I was happy that I actually found it and listened to a little bit of it.
Well, I found it on the Civic Media Network. I listened. My friend Todd Alba broadcasted live. He took much of the Biden speech. We got another one of our fine colleagues, Dom, joining us live, coming up at the top of the happy hour. It's morning host Earl Ingram from WAUK, WRJN, WGBW. He's joining us at the Bavarian Bierhaus
anybody knows how to
If anybody knows how to Oktoberfest, it's Earl.
And we're out here with the
Fall in Love Hometown Tour 2023. And it continues. This tour is again tomorrow. Don, we're going to be in La Crosse at the Buzzard Billy's. So if you're driving home tonight and you're looking for plans tomorrow in La Crosse, it's not just Oktoberfest. It's Oktoberfest with the Devil's Advocates.
It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new thing. Before we run out of time in this segment, Nate, we got a couple of clips. A couple of highlights, perhaps, lowlights of last night's GOP debate, if you can call it that. A short one here from Nikki Haley. I think we're going to be dropping this one often, especially when we get callers from like CJ. Let's hear cut number one, Nikki Haley.
Honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say.
I would believe
she's Vivek Ramaswamy. Right. Like, oh, damn. And I think this was about the time when I turned off the debate. Let's go with cut number two, please.
That was a little bit too long for you.
Oh, it's too long. Oh, man, no time.
Time to go to break. Come back. Oktoberfest style at the Bavarian Bierhaus. Devil's Advocates on the road. Earl joins us next. Plenty of room for you as well. Packers don't kick off till 7:15. Watch it on a big screen or listen on WRJN 1400 AM.
What's going on, man?
I didn't know I was going to see you so soon, man.
All right, man. What's going on, man? So, it's not October yet. How can it be October?
It's fucking October for
Wisconsin.
So this was me last Friday in Racine at the FBI shooting range.
Oh, no kidding. Were you shooting?
I want to see the target at the.
Yeah, well,
goddamn! What is this?
So the target was the mountain. I hit that well.
Yeah, just blasting shotgun rounds or what?
No, so this was a what do you call it? The Tommy gun.
Tommy gun?
Yeah, it's got a Tommy gun.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
They spray, don't.
Back it up.
Hey,
They never do that in the
you
movies,
gotta
Earl.
understand, I had never shot it. I had never had a gun in my hand.
Really? Nice.
So they gave a shot a Glock 9, and I didn't realize.
Find out what's going on in the world, the state, and in your own backyard. This is a Civic Media Network News Update.
It's 5 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Nate Wuggy, and here's what Wisconsin needs to know. A man from Sparta faces criminal charges accused of taking part in the January 6th riot. Charles Walters was arrested yesterday and made his initial appearance in federal court in Madison. Federal prosecutors say Walters was caught on video destroying some fencing, climbing onto the inaugural stage risers, and going inside the Capitol wearing a helmet and ballistic-style vest. A soldier from Wisconsin is back in the U.S. after weeks in North Korean custody. Terry Bell reports.
Private Travis King spoke with his mother soon after he was released. Jonathan Franks is the spokesperson for King's family.
She's overjoyed. She got to hear her son's voice, and she was thrilled.
King is at a military base in Texas and likely faces disciplinary action. General Robert Abrams is the former commander of U.S. forces in the Korean Peninsula. He spoke with ABC News.
I think the most likely option is Private Travis King will be administratively discharged from the Army.
The Pentagon says the U.S. made no deals with North Korea for King's return. Terry Bell, Civic Media News.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court is declining to hear a lawsuit to ban the state assembly from impeaching any Wisconsin justice. Pete Schwaba reports.
Two supporters of Justice Janet Protasewicz brought the suit. Republican State Assembly Speaker Robin Vos says lawmakers may consider impeaching the new liberal justice if she hears two redistricting cases the court may take up. Many Republicans object to Protasewicz, calling the state's political maps rigged. WisPolitics reports the lawsuit was brought out of concern that impeachment is imminent. Justices did not comment on their decision, and Protasewicz did not participate.
Pete Schwaba, Civic Media News.
St. Norbert College in De Pere is laying off 41 employees due to budget cuts. The Green Bay Press-Gazette reports 29 people are being let go right away. The college will cut another 12 positions in the months to come. A spokesperson says about 2/3 of St. Norbert's costs come from personnel and that workforce cuts were unavoidable. Officials with the State Department of Natural Resources are reminding hunters to be on the lookout for chronic wasting disease ahead of the deer hunting season. CWD is a fatal disease that targets the brain and spinal cord in the animals. Deer herd health specialist Aaron Larson says that CWD has affected 62 counties across the state.
And in recent years, we have unfortunately seen the disease introduced in some new isolated areas of the state, particularly in isolated parts of northern Wisconsin.
DNR officials urge hunters not to bait deer and to remove any carcass waste to landfills to avoid the spread of the disease. And that's what Wisconsin needs to know. I'm Nate Wiggyhout, and this is Civic Media News.
For today? You mean for the cubs?
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy who would come.
I was hoping he would, but he didn't. Or he had yours?
Earl, you got one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No spotted cow there, Crute. At least not that I saw. I got your pills there.
Okay.
A couple of minutes.
Cheers, gents.
All right, salute. What you drinking, Earl? Pills?
Yeah.
Yep. Can't go wrong. But don't spill on the camera.
Not on the camera. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Oh, that's a big one.
Cheers.
I want to wait in line. Plus, they're half off.
Where are we getting that sound from?
Me.
Oh, none of these mics are open though, dude. No, it's not open. Oh, yeah, it is now because you put one on one.
Oh, I didn't plug it in.
Oh, it's in one. So
you plugged it in, right?
Yeah. So give that one to Earl or
so,
whatever. So Earl,
that's fine. Earl, you want to go? Earl, I want you in the middle, man. So
okay.
I'm gonna give you this one.
Earl in the middle.
And I'll take one.
You remember Malcolm in the middle? No, it's Earl in the middle.
We got 2 minutes. All right, 2 minutes. Minute and a half.
Yeah, man. So this FBI stuff is, man. So they've got media there. They've got 3 hosts from Channel 4.
Mm-hmm.
They've got some print media, and
then an important guy.
And then you know, kind of.
The guy looks like Jim Santel with a firm. Got his back kind of turned up.
All right.
You know they got great food here.
I haven't tried it yet. You've been here before?
Yeah. You mean?
I always gotta ask, man. I've never left the city for like the first 64 years of your life. Goddamn, I've never been to Madison before, Crute. I've never been to Wausau. Never left Milwaukee County before, Crute.
Never have been to
Brady Street.
Yeah, never been to Brady Street.
All right, connect that again.
Venus Schnitzel.
Venus Schnitzel.
We have ways that they can get talk around.
All right, let's see.
It's Venus Schnitzel.
All right, 10 seconds.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me get to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on the road in Milwaukee, sliding into a happy Oktoberfest happy hour at the Bavarian Bierhaus. And Dom gets happier up in here because we've been joined by a fine guest at the table. He is WAUK Civic Media's own Earl Ingram, friend of ours, colleague in broadcast excellence. Welcome back to the show, Earl. How you doing?
Hey, man, all is well.
All right, man. Good to see you, Earl.
I know it's a little hard to understand this concept that Oktoberfest actually begins in September. It was confusing in lacrosse, too. Like, when's Oktoberfest? Well, September, of course.
The entire month of September?
Well, it starts tomorrow.
Oh, it starts tomorrow.
Dom and I are getting on the road in the morning. We're going up to Oktoberfest, where we went to college in lacrosse, Earl.
That must be a pretty big event in lacrosse.
Oh, yeah, especially when we get there.
They tap the golden keg around noon tomorrow. Hope to be there to get a little heady beer, kind of like the one they handed you.
Hey, man, this is really kind of a nice,
great facility, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Kirk and the gang here allowing us to come to the Bavarian Bierhaus, a little politics, and then Packers and Earl. You can hear the Packers right here in Milwaukee on 1400 AM WRJN, the very same station that you play out in mornings for Civic Media.
Yeah, man. It's what do you say about the Packers? We'll find out tonight.
Oh, you know it, man.
No, you guys are. I forget that you and Dom are both Detroit guys, and it's funny because you've got a very good relationship with Gilbert Brown. You do Monday mornings under the helmet with the Gravedigger, Gilbert Brown, and Earl Ingram on your show Mondays 8 to 9, and he lives in Detroit, but is a former Packer, and you love Detroit, and so does Dom, and you're both wrong.
So the Packers have been, what we thought they were going to be. They're exciting. They clearly are exciting. They've got a lot of great athletes, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, and they're going to be a really good 8 and 9 team.
Well, if that is the case, Detroit will be looking up 6 and
Well, see, but here's the thing:
6 and 11.
You can't live on
17 games.
Past performance is not indicative of future performance.
Tell that to the Chicago Bears.
It's a whole new world, and there's a lot of injuries. We had Mike Clemens on last hour, Earl, and the Packers. They're home underdogs against Detroit. And I cannot remember for the life of me, and I've been to a few Packer-Lions games in Lambeau Field, whenever the Packers were underdogs at home with Detroit coming in. I don't ever remember that happening, ever.
Well,
sounds like easy money to me.
Believe it or not, Detroit won 7 of the last 12 games against the Packers. So
I don't believe it.
Look it up. Look it up.
I trust you, Earl.
So this is not the old Detroit Lions, the Detroit Lions of old. That coach that they have is a tough hombre, man, and he motivates the players, and he's a tough guy, and he's got his players playing tough. They're physical, and so. The Packers are physical. It's going to be a great game.
When's the last time you spoke with the Gravedigger? Was it Monday?
It was Monday.
And what do you think looking forward to this?
Well,
jump up on you Thursday night, broadcasting on Prime. A lot of people are going to be disappointed when they can't watch it on their TV, so they're going to turn on the radio like WRJN here in the Milwaukee.
Man, that's just amazing to me that they can't get the games in the state, man.
Well, you can watch the Packers on local TV here in Milwaukee.
I know,
and you can do it in Green Bay. But like if you live in Madison, I'm not clear that you get the Packer game tonight short of buying a paid subscription to Amazon Prime. And the the Badgers next Saturday, they've got a bye week, October 7th. Their game's only on Peacock. Can't watch it on Big Ten, ESPN, whatever, but you can hear it on the stream through Civic Media. Also, try WRJN, our sports flagship.
Well, I'll tell you, man, it's going to be a great game. I'm excited about it. It's a Thursday night game. that's finally going to be a game worth watching, right?
Yeah.
And so, because I get up so early in the morning, I normally would not be watching the Thursday
Oh,
night.
the Lions. I mean, they beat Kansas City. Man. They came out and beat the Super Bowl champions on the first game of the season. Man, that was also a
they are the real deal. Yeah. And so I'm sorry if we offend some.
No, I'm not.
Packers.
No, come on. That just makes for the fun, man. That's what it's all about.
But man, this is not Aaron Rodgers.
Trash talk now. Kick off 7:15, boys. I'll take all your trash talk now. Bring it.
It's going to be an exciting game, and so that's the good thing. A Thursday night game that matters 4 games into the season. Normally that doesn't. A game 4 games into the season is not a big game.
Well, it's for first place in the NFC North because, I mean, literally Chicago and the
Vikings
Vikes are
done.
effectively out of it at 0-3. So, yeah, man, this is an early test.
Can you imagine? You practice all that time, you do all this, and 3 games into the season, you're already out of it. Man, you still have 14 games.
Oh, there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time.
Aaron Rodgers would take 3 games. Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates. We're live at the Bavarian Bierhaus right here in Glendale, Wisconsin. Now, Glendale, I'm not clear what distinguishes. I'll ask Mayor Bryan Kennedy a little bit from now. Where does Glendale end? And Dom lives in Whitefish Bay, which is like about a mile over there, but that apparently a whole different community, Earl. But tell me, this is all greater Milwaukee County. This is the greater Milwaukee community, but Milwaukee is really a lot of little towns kind of all jammed together in one big metropolitan. People outstate may not know that, but this is a very neighborhood-oriented city, is it not, Earl?
Well, most of these suburbs grew out of Milwaukee, and they really expanded with industry, believe it or not. Back in those 70s and 60s, when people worked in all the industry that was here, they made enough money to expand those suburbs. And so average everyday Joes made enough money to move into Whitefish Bay and Glendale and expand these areas. And, it's probably changed since those 60s and 70s, the people who began to expand them were the average everyday Joe, but now, they've grown to people who live in those communities are pretty well healed. And so but those
Earl,
two
once
areas.
upon a time, not everyone would have been welcomed in every subdivision here in the city of Milwaukee. There's some redlining going on, very segregated.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. Once upon a time like today? I mean, today's once upon a time.
It hasn't really changed much, Crute.
I have heard Milwaukee described as the most segregated city north of the Mason-Dixon line. I don't live here, Earl. I come to visit.
Right.
I like being here, but I don't live here. What's it like being here, living here?
Well, I mean, I love it. I love it because this is my home. This is where I'm going to die. I've seen the changes in it, many of them not good. But my thing is I'm going to fight it as long as I'm here. If people leave, they have a right to leave. But I'm one of those people who love my city and going to work like the Dickens to do what I can in the time I have left to make it better. Because once upon a time, it was one of the most beautiful places in the nation to live.
You know, Earl, we've got a mutual colleague on the line. She wants to say hi, apparently to you, doesn't call us. She is Maggie Dawn from the Maggie Dawn Show. Maggie, welcome to the Devil's Advocates. Apparently, say hi to Earl.
Hey, Maggie.
What's going on down the Resistance?
Hey, Earl. Well, 3 of the most handsomest, most charming radio personalities were on the air. I had to call and say hello.
Aww.
And I always love listening to Earl talk about Milwaukee because he makes me well up with pride. I love this place, too. This is where I was born and raised. This is where I'm going to die. And there's so much good here, and it starts with the people. And Earl is such a great example of that. So my love to you, my brother, and you guys have fun on the air. Thanks for picking up my call.
Always. Thank you.
Hey, let me ask you a quick sports one, Earl. Obviously, we're buttoned up. We got a Brewer game going on, preempting the greatest radio show ever, some say. Not you, maybe, but some of us do.
Come on, man.
We're being preempted by the Brewers. I think they're up 3-0 right now against the Cardinals. And, of course, we got a little football going off later, but let's talk about the Brewers and the stadium issue. And Robin Voss is really trying to stick it to the city of Milwaukee and effectively says, Milwaukee's the only one garnering any benefits, so you eat all the new expense effectively of keeping them in town for the next 25 years.
Is it a surprise that Robin Voss has ulterior motives in what he does when it comes to Milwaukee? Number one, Waukesha is not being asked to pay part of the freight. And many other cities aren't being asked to pay part of the freight. If you ever go to the Brewer games, I don't think there are a whole lot of Milwaukee people there. They're from basically all over the state.
Like 60% of the fan base is from outside of the
Well, yes.
Yeah.
When you go and see...
Well, look at all those taxes you get from us. But actually, that's not true because there's not an additional sales tax being charged to Brewers fans. At least not my understanding. There might be with this new taxation being rolled out, Earl.
Well, I'm just saying, man, that I like the Brewers, but based on the things that Robin Voss has done to punish Milwaukee, it's kind of hard, man, to say I accept what Robin Voss is trying to sell. And Bruce Murphy pointed it out. Perfect. Yes.
Excellent article yesterday. Effectively, Bruce Murphy wrote there's no net economic gains to the city of Milwaukee. But we here at Civic Media sure do like the Milwaukee Brewers. They're playing on WISS right now. Playoffs start on Tuesday. Brewers going to the wild card. We're coming back with our friend Earl Ingram live on the road, Glendale from the Bavarian Bierhaus. Happy Oktoberfest.
All right.
Man, I like the Brewers too, man. I watch the Brewers all the time.
No.
But the question becomes...
I'm in bed with the Brewers, though.
But the question becomes, as Bruce Murphy laid it out, I didn't even think about it. No. But he exposed it.
The next, someone's going to spend their dollars one way or another. Man. Maybe they're going to the strip club. Maybe they're going somewhere else, going to the movies, going to something, going hunting.
And then you got the mayor who made a proposition. We got all these parking spots.
Yeah.
Let's build something. Now, no,
tax
we can't do it.
Tax base, right?
Yeah, but again, the tailgaters. No, we're not gonna give up our tailgating for you guys to take that away. That's our fun. Never mind revenue.
Right. Tax base, increasing the tax base, get more money.
So
how dare Milwaukee be the economic driver of the state?
And then the other part of it is Anastasio. I remember when he bought it. What was it? 200 million, 300 million. It's worth 1.6 billion. Come on, man.
Well,
why didn't you go buy a ball club?
Any money we kick in, we should get a pice of the action.
I know, man.
We'll give you $600 million for 40%. Of the ownership. How about that?
Well, it is.
Here we go.
So who are they playing?
Cardinals today.
I know. I'm talking about the playoffs.
We don't know yet. Depends on how bad the Cubs do.
Oh, is this? Do I have? Oh, I got yours, Earl.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was a little weird. Okay, let's try that again. All right, there we go.
Oh, that was weird. Took one look at us and walked away.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but
And
funny
some
is
of my songs I have casually mentioned.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Earl Ingram Jr., our friend, host of the Earl Ingram Jr. show here on Civic Media in the mornings. You get up early, Earl, so we don't have to. We appreciate that. We got some callers holding 844-967-2789. I want to get a quick little your political take. This debate last night, Earl. There was a bunch of Republicans who think that they should be the president. I want to know your thoughts, sir.
Look, man, here's what I don't understand. If I'm running against a guy and I really want to win, I really want to be the president of the United States, why am I holding back? For a guy who wants to take my head off, right?
Yeah.
So what I do understand it because they really aren't running to become president of the United States. They're really running for their egos, and hopefully the guy who's
job on Fox
will
News,
give them,
write a book, get paid.
Yeah.
There's no one on that stage of consequence that I think, Earl, at least in my humble opinion, you know how humble I am, no one is going to be the president, not in this cycle, because they can't beat Trump. And I don't understand that, Earl, but they've embraced this man, and the more times he gets indicted, the more they love him. At some point, this has to be a house of cards. At some point, there's going to be trials and convictions. Earl, then what happens?
You know, I talk about it every morning. I try to stay away. But how can you stay away?
Yeah.
And I said to my audience the other day, I said, how is it possible that with all the things that are going on and nothing more important than this right around the corner? You always hear people say, well, this is the most important election in the history of the nation. We're getting close to that. Because the fact that people are going to support this man regardless of anything that he's done and continues to do, and throw all of that away. But Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Come on, man. Come on.
Did you see that Paul Ryan came to campus? And
Yeah.
Called Trump a loser. Doesn't say it much publicly, but said it the other night. And said, he's a loser because we lose. And they went through all the elective cycles. And sure enough, Republicans do lose, but they fear the man. They fear his base. Look at Robin Voss. Robin Voss never believed an election was stolen, but look at all the things he's done, the hiring of Gableman, the empowering of Janelle Branch, and now he's got Canodal over in the Senate. This is only empowered because a guy like Robin Voss, who doesn't really believe, in my heart of hearts, I know that he's smart enough. He knows it wasn't a rigged election, but he's afraid of the base. When Trump said jump, he got on an airplane to Alabama.
I don't know about afraid of the base. I think something like that's a political calculation, Earl. He knows what he's doing. I don't know if afraid of the base of the world. They're going to come and hang Mike Pence. They're going to come and hang. They're going to come and hang Robin Voss. Come on.
So what does it say about the base that sees a man who is as corrupt? And so if at any other time in the history of this nation, a person running for any office was accused of doing what the Trump family just did,
which time?
It would be,
which one?
But this one, overvaluing all of those properties, that would be the kiss of death. That would be the end of their running. It would end right there, Democrat or Republican. So why not? Why has it not happened to him?
Well, he's what did we decide his nickname was? His mafia nickname? Sleazy Don, Greasy Don, Slippery Don, the Teflon Don?
Until they're not. 844-967-2789. Earl Ingram joining us. Got a couple of callers on the lines. Let's get to them. Charles from Green Bay. Welcome, Charles. What do you got for us?
Hey, Charles.
Well, first of all, Earl, it's good to hear you in the afternoon. I listen to you in the morning, and we've talked before.
Yes, sir.
And the only thing that I got to say is this. If I was Disney, I would be upset that someone called Don Trump Donald Duck, because that's an embarrassment to the poor duck. Donald Duck's got, dignity. He's got Daisy. He doesn't have Melania. He doesn't have 3 wives. He doesn't have how many kids with how many different women, and we're not counting the ones that we don't count.
Well, where did those little ducklings come from? Are those Huey, Dewey, and Louie? How do we know they're not Donalds?
Well, the problem is we don't. But the fact of the matter is, Donald Duck has dignity. Donald Trump does not.
Yes, amen, Charles. Well done.
Although You know, I hate to be disagreeable to our audience. Here's where that analogy breaks down. Donald Duck wears no pants. It's hard to call a man dignified who walks around bare-ass. Right, Dom?
Cindy from Appleton. Welcome, Cindy. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Cindy.
Hello. Well, I don't understand why people are afraid of Trump, because I have always found out that if someone is a bully and they bully you and smack you, and if you smack them back, guess what? They go away.
But, Cindy, there's been real violence perpetrated in the name of Trump and incited by Trump. And there's been racial violence. There's been political violence. I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi's husband. The guy was almost beat to death. And they were really targeting her.
Threats to his general.
To his general, right.
Yes.
But here's the thing, and thank you for the call, Cindy. We only got about a minute left here, Earl. We criticize this former president all the time. I don't feel
threatened.
In danger or threatened. I mean, this is what we do.
Tom's always been a little foolhardy.
Well, but truth is truth.
Right.
And if you're afraid to speak the truth, man, I don't know how you compromise what's right because of fear. And especially living in this nation, you shouldn't allow that to happen. And the more people are willing to do that, the more this continues to move forward.
A few more beers, we'll be speaking lots of truth. Here at Oktoberfest, Earl Ingram Jr., if you haven't heard the show, you better get up in the morning, 8 to 10, with Earl Ingram on WAUK, WRJN, our sports flagship. They got the Packers later, and also on WGBW. Tune in, especially on Monday mornings when he hosts Gilbert Brown. They do Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger. And Gilbert's a hell of a fun guy. I can't wait to hear Gilbert's take on this Packer glorious victory over Detroit tonight. Go Packers!
Hey, man, we got to do this a little more.
You know it, man. Thank
All
you.
right.
Good to see you, brother.
Meow!
All right.
Meow. Come back. Bryan Kennedy, he is the mayor of Glendale. More Devils on the road again.
Think you know politics? Again, welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, live on the road again. We are in Glendale, Wisconsin at the Bavarian Bierhaus. Thank you to our most recent guest, Earl Ingram from the Earl Ingram Show. Tune in mornings across the Civic Media Network, especially WRJN, WGBW, and of course, the Shaw, the Shaw, 540 AM, right here in Milwaukee. And Dom, we have been joined here at the table at the Bierhaus by Mayor Bryan Kennedy of Glendale, Wisconsin, a friend of ours. Brian, welcome back to the Devil's
Hey,
Advocates,
Brian,
man.
welcome. You're bringing us the key to the city, man.
Sure.
How about the Stein to Oktoberfest?
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we got our steins of beer here.
There
so
we
we're
go.
all set.
Absolutely.
Cheers, Mayor.
Happy
Cheers.
Oktoberfest, man.
Yeah, Prost.
So when did I enter into Glendale? Because, Dom lives over there, and that's like, what, Whitefish Bay.
There's always a border. There's got to be a delineation somewhere.
What am I missing? When did I get into Glendale?
Well, if you're coming from the Madison
I
area,
came 43 north.
once
Yep.
you cross Capitol Drive, you're in Glendale.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm in Glendale. I'm at the beer house, the Bavarian Bierhaus. And now you mentioned, I asked, do you have any big construction projects, any development going on here in Glendale currently? And you said, do we? Every road under construction in this town. What's going on, Brian?
We are just the picture of what happens when the federal government gives you money through ARPA and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. We've got state projects, MMSD, the school district. We're building a new fire station. I mean, you name it. It seems like there's an orange barrel on about every road. As a matter of fact, we paused all of the city projects this year because we didn't want to add any more orange barrels to the road that are already there.
Orange barrel fatigue. Scott Walker would tell you.
Yeah.
The people got so sick of it. Although he never fixed any roads, as near as I could tell.
No. He never completed any roads. As a matter of fact, the I-43 expansion, that was put on hold every single budget by Scott Walker, and then Tony Evers finally funded getting it done.
Well, that's good,
Yeah.
because I hate getting stuck in traffic.
That's right.
Tell me what makes Glendale special. Why Glendale? Why should people live here, do commerce here, drink beer here?
So actually, my plug for Glendale is really sort of a plug for the North Shore. We have 7 communities in the North Shore, 68,000 people. Glendale's the only city. The rest are all residential villages. So really, Glendale
Looking
is
down your nose at the villages, are you, Brian?
No, Glendale's the economic engine of the North Shore.
Yeah.
So if you live in any one of these villages around us, you're getting your car serviced here. You're going to the mall here. You're going to doctor's appointments here. You're going to the bank here. Basically, anything you're doing, you're coming here. We've got the grocery stores. You name it, it's in Glendale if you're living in the North Shore. So we really are the economic engine. That's why we work really hard to make sure our business community's happy here, because they're paying a big chunk of the bills for us.
Brian, is this a growing tax base? Have you seen influx of business? And if so, what sort of businesses are helping to grow Glendale into this century and the next?
We've seen about $200 million in net new construction in the time I've been mayor.
Wow.
The biggest chunk of that.
How long have you been mayor, man? Not that I'm going to do the math.
2015.
Okay.
So 9 years, we've had pretty steady growth every year. As a matter of fact, our tax rate.
That's still over $20 million per annum in investment.
Yeah.
If my simple math makes sense, sir.
Yes. I mean, and so there's just a lot of building. I'd say the biggest chunk of that building is at Bayshore, where Bayshore's undergone a complete renaissance. I mean, if you went to Bayshore 10 years ago and you go to Bayshore now, it doesn't look anything like it did. It's now got, about 700 or 800 apartments between all the new buildings that are there, a whole bunch of new stores. There's a completely new town center. I mean, everything about Bayshore is different than it used to be, and it's really made a spectacular comeback. And then after that, I mean, we've had, as I mentioned, the car dealerships, the banks, the dentists. If you start adding all those things up, when people complain to me about, why'd you approve another car dealership? I'm like, well, that $10 million car dealership pays the same amount in taxes as 40 $250,000 homes.
Yeah.
And so about half of our revenue comes from non-residential property taxpayers. So we've worked really hard to build the business base in Glendale, because they're paying half the bills. It makes it a lot easier on homeowners when businesses are paying half the bills.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, live on the road, partying in Glendale at the Bavarian Bierhaus. We got the mayor of Glendale. He's our friend Bryan Kennedy. Brian, ballpark politics, do they affect Glendale at all? I know the city of Milwaukee, the county of Milwaukee, may be on the hook for this stadium. Glendale's a little farther north, and they didn't build the stadium downtown. They They left it out where County Stadium used to be. Any local politics involved in the stadium?
From our perspective, not really. I mean, obviously, when Miller Park was built, everybody paid a sales tax to help fund it. So, I mean, if they impose something like that as a means of
like a
fixing
5-county sales tax,
right, yep.
Now the proposal is that it wouldn't be 5 counties, right? They're not asking
just Milwaukee,
just
County,
Milwaukee,
just the city.
Yeah,
just the city. I mean, if they include Milwaukee County, then anytime we're spending any money here, we'll be paying for it.
And what are your thoughts on it? I mean, as the deals as the reporting is with the proposals as they stand, what's your personal thought on it?
Well, my personal thought on it is that across the country, we have developed a system in which public financing is required for every single major sports or entertainment venue. And there's not a city or a metropolitan area where the people aren't paying for some of it. Ideally, I would say, these sports teams would pay for their own homes. But if we're the first one to do it, then we're going to lose the sports team. So because now everywhere you go in the country, they're paid for with at least a chunk of it with public dollars. So I think, eventually public dollars are going to be used for AmFam Field.
How much of the identity of Milwaukee, obviously Glendale separate from Milwaukee, but still
Milwaukee County, man, come on, it's all the same. You're 5 minutes from downtown.
As an identity, how important is a major league franchise like the Milwaukee Brewers or the Milwaukee Bucks to the identity of Milwaukee, to your opinion, Brian?
I would say they're actually crucial to the identity of the state. It doesn't matter where you go in the state. I mean, everybody here is a Packers fan, and I don't live in Green Bay. I live an hour and a half from Green Bay. We're all Bucks fans. We're all Badgers fans, and I don't live in Madison. I think it's really important that, those teams are here. They become a part of our identity, and I think for the whole state, not just for Milwaukee or the Milwaukee metro area.
Now, how are the politics doing in Glendale? Obviously, they elect a fine mayor last couple terms, but, when we cast that against the state map, how are the districts looking on the Assembly, on the Senate side? It seems like the exurbs are shifting farther blue. How would you describe Glendale's politics?
Glendale's politics are really blue. We voted 75% for Tony Evers. We voted 73% for Joe Biden. So, and we've been trending more and more blue every election cycle. If you go back just to Obama's reelect in 2012, we were at 60% Democratic, and now we're at 75%. But in terms of our districts, we're gerrymandered into a very, very safe Democratic seat. A Republican didn't even run, and the Democratic performance in our Assembly district is 89%. So, we're gerrymandered into one of those seats, where Glendale is 75% is the most conservative part of that Democratic district.
And do you think, and obviously the recasting, the gerrymandered maps are in play or could be in play, could be either recast or go through the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and hell, we might see some impeachments and all other sorts of malfeasance. How do you think this area should be divided in terms of districting for representation? How would you like to see Glendale grouped? It would be nice if, there was 60-40, 55-45. Wouldn't it be nice if there was at least a competitive race where a Republican felt comfortable at least throwing their hat in the ring?
I would actually like to see competitive districts all across the state. I think that you hold that we're able as voters to hold our elected officials accountable when they're really truly up for re-election every 2 years or every 4 years. So if we had 99 assembly districts where 80-85 of them were always in play, or even close to being in play, we would see essentially waves back and forth, not just one party controlling everything because they drew the boundaries. I really think this is a state that continues to be purple, although at the state level we're trending more and more blue. But we really do need districts that are competitive, as many of them that can be competitive as possible when you draw the maps. And we don't have that now. Even Tony Evers tried, but even his gave the Republicans 53 or 54 seat majority. What it would involve is really slicing and dicing a lot of communities in order to be able to get to a lot of 50-50 districts.
And that's not the intent. The intent is to keep communities intact and contiguous.
Right.
So let's assume we do that. There is something of a geographic advantage. If you look at the maps and you use real math, there's still going to be an advantage to Republicans. It just wouldn't be overwhelming. When you saw a big pendulum, a swing blue election, the Democrats might win the Assembly or might win the Senate, And that's a foregone conclusion under current circumstances, Brian.
So the real redrawing would take place in the suburbs and in the exurbs. I mean, if you look at Milwaukee County, they're pretty much all blue districts except for a couple down around Franklin Oak Creek, right? Everything would be pretty much blue in the county. You go out to the really rural areas, they're going to be red. But you have places that are trending more and more blue. Like, I think by 2028, Ozaukee County is going to vote for the Democrat for president. I mean, if you look at the way that county is trending, it's trending more and more Democratic. You had Mequon, you had Thiensville, you had Cedarburg. They all voted for Joe Biden. Granted, by very slim margins, but they voted for Biden. The southern half of that county is trending more and more blue. And so drawing boundaries that would actually allow for really more competitive districts in the suburbs and the exurbs would really give many more voters a real choice when they go to vote, which we don't have right now.
Mayor Bryan Kennedy from Glendale, our fine guest here at the table. Brian, I've been a big fan of the Main Street bounce back grants, and I have had the opportunity to travel around the state of Wisconsin over the last year and look at a lot of commercial real estate on behalf of our company, Civic Media. And there's a lot of competition out there, meaning these bounce back grants brought a lot of little businesses out of their basement, out of their garage, and put them on Main Street. And I think so many of the main streets in this state are vibrant right now, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it on a political level. But Brian, what's your experience been here in Glendale?
So we have not really had, because I mean, you have to work with the municipality and get support from the municipality, letters of support.
Yep.
We haven't really been asked to do those for a lot of our businesses. But I do think it's important, especially when you look at the downturn after the pandemic, when so many people went home, leaving just millions of square feet of office space vacant in the region. I think it's really important to help, as people go back into the office, as they reopen storefronts, to give them some incentive and some help to make sure that they're not just going to rely on everything being done at a computer, but actually renting the space that's been built already.
Brian, do you envision sort of, I guess we all have to start envisioning different workplaces going forward. We were in the radio industry, obviously, and when the pandemic hit, we sent guys home, and guys like Matt Flynn never came back, meaning they still work from home. There's no reason to bring them into a communal space. The technology has just changed how we do business. Brian, do you envision companies in Glendale are going to be pulling 100 employees, 500 employees together in an office in the near future, or does that seem like a thing of the past, sir?
I mean, my experience here, Johnson Controls is building an expansion on their campus to bring another 300 people and to bring their research division from downtown Milwaukee to Glendale to add to the 1,300 that are already here. So, yes, many of them still work remotely, but there's still a need for them to have additional space. There are things that are lost. You can work primarily from home, but the face-to-face meetings, some of the person-to-person contact, other ideas, other things happen when people work together in a workplace. I'm a big fan of the hybrid workplace where you get a couple of days in the office and maybe 2 or 3 days at home. It allows people a lot more flexibility. I've
That's what you call it, Tom, a hybrid workplace you've been doing all these years.
Yeah.
Brian, you talk about governance and what the city of Glendale has been doing in the construction. These are like the basics I would consider of governance. And we see on the national level, and certainly even on the state level, lots of animosity between different political parties. And you're a political guy. You ran for the chair of the Democratic Party here in the state of Wisconsin once upon a time. Is that bleeding down to the local level as far as you're concerned?
So we do have a really progressive common council here, but I've always said that one of the beauties of local government is that there is no Democratic way to pave a road and there's no Republican way to pick up garbage. We are dealing with everyday issues that impact people's lives on a very personal level. If your garbage doesn't get picked up and it's stinking right out there in front of your house, then you're going to call your alderman and you're going to complain.
I'm going to call the mayor, man.
You're going to call the mayor, you're going to complain. That's right. And so we're dealing with those kind of issues. But we have actually, as a city, when we demolished, we adopted the Paris Agreement. We demolished and rebuilt our city hall to be a LEED certified, energy efficient building. We had MMSD help us do all the green infrastructure landscaping for the city campus. So I mean, we're pushing an agenda. And it's that one might say is a little more progressive or more left-leaning on some areas, but on a lot of the stuff, it's just making sure that people have the services they need.
The basics.
The basics, yep.
Brian Kennedy, our agenda, Oktoberfest and beer, and then Packers.
Yep.
I appreciate
Tell all
it,
your
Mayor.
friends to come out to Oktoberfest. It's going for 2 more weekends. Tell them to come, spend their money in Glendale.
Absolutely.
Right down here at the Bavarian Bierhaus. We'll buy you a beer. Come on down. First one's on Crute. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open 844-96-PARTY.
Thanks, Brian.
Malarkey. The Devil's Advocates invented malarkey.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Make sure you stick around. The Maggie Dawn show is next. In for Maggie, Anya. She's sticking around. Maggie is gone today. Anya is filling in her absence, talking about the youth vote with actual youths. The Utes of America. Anya filling in for Maggie at 6 o'clock.
Does that mean Maggie Dawn's coming down here to have a couple of cold ones at the Bavarian Bierhaus?
Perhaps.
We are in Glendale. We've got the Glendale Mayor. He is Bryan Kennedy here at the table. Just a few more minutes because we've only got a few more minutes. Then it's time to get ready for a Packer game. Packers kicking off 7:15 p.m. against the Detroit Lions. You can listen on WRJN 1400 AM. And then come on out and watch the game here with us at the Bavarian Bierhaus. Politics, then Packers. Brian, appreciate you sticking around. Brewers just won 3-0. Welcome, Brewers fans, tuning in.
Yes.
Brian, first and foremost, you're a Packers fan, right?
Absolutely.
'Cause that guy's not. Give him an elbow in the ribs.
I'm a Packers fan unless they're playing the Lions. You know how it works.
I'm just shaking my head.
I
got nothing to say to you.
I was born in Livonia, man. You know, it's in the blood.
Yeah, he thinks he's on the 8 Mile.
Yeah. No, I'm a Packers fan. I was at the game actually on Sunday up in Green Bay.
Brian, will the power stay on here in Glendale for the game? I hear we've had some issues with power staying on.
Yeah, so we're actually,
community.
it's funny you bring that up. We're actually the first municipality in the state to ever sue an electric company or one of the utilities for failure to provide adequate service. We had, just in the month of July, we had 11 power outages in the city of Glendale. Some of them as short as like 30 seconds, but one of them lasted for 2 days. It's become such a regular thing that we have hundreds of homeowners that have bought the whole home generators. There's like 10 grand. People gone out and bought those because the electricity is so unreliable. So, yeah, we did. We sued We Energies at the Public Service Commission. We're waiting on scheduling of a hearing. But there's been a ton of discovery, and what we're basically saying is, unlike most of the other utilities around the country that are getting 4 and 5% return on investment every year, they're getting 10 to 15% at We Energies. It's one of the best investments you can make if you invest in utility stocks. And what they're not doing is investing in the infrastructure. when they keep blaming it on trees. I mean, 3 times they blamed it on a Mylar balloon. I'm like, how many kids' birthday parties are there? The Mylar balloons are escaping.
What is this, Glendale, Texas?
No, but it's not just here. It goes all the way up into Ozaukee County. I mean, this whole region, the whole North Shore, we're losing power all the time. In Glendale, we basically said, we're done. We're tired of hearing your excuses. And so we filed a complaint on behalf of all of our residents. And after we did, we had several hundred residents go on the website and file their own complaints. So now they've all been lumped together. But, I mean, we got the attention of We Energies. I mean, they're talking now about significant infrastructure improvements in the entire North Shore region. And, the Public Service Commission, they've never had a case like this before. So they agreed to move it on to a hearing.
And Glendale Mayor Bryan Kennedy, what's quote-unquote justice look like? Is it the remedy? Is it the investment?
What's
is
the
it
redress?
The outcome?
Right.
Or how do you get reimbursement for the groceries that went bad in the fridge?
Right. I mean, they don't reimburse for those things, right? What we want to see is significant investment in infrastructure, but durable infrastructure. If you look around the world, metro areas the size of Milwaukee and like all over Europe, they all have buried lines.
Yeah.
And here they're all above ground.
Yes.
Why? We have terrible weather here a big chunk of the year, right? It gets really, really cold. We got violent storms in the summertime with high winds. And heavy
We're radio
rainstorms.
guys. You're not telling us anything we don't know.
Right.
Add high towers into that mix.
Right. And so why aren't they building an infrastructure that's meant for a cold climate like this that gets a lot of more frequent and more violent storms? And, somebody's got to stand up to them. And so we're the small little community that could. We're going to stand up to them and say, you got to start investing in the infrastructure again.
Sorry to interrupt, Mayor. Is it your suspicion that it's just simply we want a greater profit margin? We don't want the higher infrastructure investment because that's your problem.
Well, that is the premise of capitalism, right? Anything you invest in, you want to make money on. And I think that's really what it comes down to. So many of their peers around the country are getting 4% and 5% profit margins, and here it's 10 to 15.
Sorry, I'm in radio. I'm really bad at capitalism, Brian.
Bryan Kennedy, mayor of Glendale, Wisconsin, our fine guest for just a couple minutes, of course, leading up to the Packer game today. Obviously, you said you're a Packer fan. I saw the line when I started today. Packers are getting 2 points. They're home underdogs when the Detroit Lions are coming to town. A prediction, sir? Do you have a prediction for tonight's game?
I wondered about that game on Sunday when I was there, and the first half was not looking pretty.
No, not at all.
But you know what? I think they're scrappy. I think they've got a great team. It's a young team, but watching them come together and really figure things out, and they came back and won. And so I'm going to say the Packers are going to win, but it'll probably be close again. They've had 2 really close games already, so I'm going to say the Packers will win.
Lots of injuries. Don't know if you heard. Mike Clemens, Civic Media Sports Director, said Bakhtiari is out.
4 weeks. He's on the IR now. They benched him for 4 weeks.
And not clear on the wide receivers. What's his name, Watson?
Watson is participating, our understanding. Less clear on Jair Alexander. But it sounded like Jones and Watson were going to participate tonight.
Does that change your math at all?
No, I'm
Mayor?
still sticking with the Packers.
Still, no matter what.
Put it this way, I don't own a Lions jersey. I only own Packers apparel. So, no.
Dom, show him the tattoo.
Oh, we got the Detroit D, man. It's not a Lions, Detroit Lions though, but I do love the Lions. I love the sports.
Hold them down with some sandpaper later, bro.
I do. That's the thing. Sports are fun. So we can rib each other. And politics. A lot of people think are sports. You know what I'm saying? And that's
blood sport.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's, these are things that matter. When you're talking about providing the basic services, when you're talking about, what is important and setting the priorities for the community and hell, people even actually having a responsive government, a representative government. When we don't have that, when you have a minority that has the overdue influence over the majority, which I think is what happens with gerrymandering, it makes it a whole lot worse. It becomes, the fun of politics, the sport of politics, it becomes a lot angrier, in my opinion.
I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, we see essentially those who are from the Republican Party further on the right and those from the Democratic Party further on the left.
Right.
And I think the real work happens. If you look historically, all the big stuff that's happened, we built an interstate highway system because Democrats and Republicans got together, figured out how to pay for it because it became a priority they both believed in.
The infrastructure bill under Joe Biden passed.
Right, bipartisan infrastructure bill. Exactly. It's those kind of things. We need to start coming together and figuring out how we get to yes instead of, I got my faction, you got your faction, and I don't see that happening. With these gerrymandered districts. I mean, Congress just fights with each other. The state legislature, same thing.
Bryan Kennedy, local knowledge. Good late night eats in Glendale.
We don't have a lot of places that stay open really late. That's part of the problem.
I'm thinking like 10:30 after the Packer game.
Oh, pretty much everything's still open until 10 or 10:30. So I would say best shot would be go over to the Brick.
Well, maybe I'll eat here at the Bavarian Bierhaus, where we're partying for the Packers. Politics.
I see Taco Bell drive-through in Crute's future.
The politics, it's done. The Packer game, it's in our near future. Mayor Bryan Kennedy, thanks for joining us here. You folks, you're allowed to flip the channel now. WRJN, 1400 AM, got your Packer pregame. Or Maggie Dawn, keep it here, Civic Media.